This story is a few days old, but there is an interesting update on it. I don't know if you saw this. There was actually a segment on Fox News. The story from CBR, Man of Tomorrow, does Superman need to be white? And then he shows this picture of The Rock, who I believe The Rock is part Samoan and part white, and I think is also a quarter black. Then you have Michael B. Jordan, who is very clearly black, and then you have I'm not sure who this actor is, but he's very clearly Asian. Well, the reason this got so much attention is because 25 years ago, actually longer than that, it was 93, I think, Dean Cain, who is mixed race and mixed race Japanese, part white, played Superman for several years. And he tweeted about it saying, "You're 25 years too late," and then went on Fox News. So let's read a little bit of what they're trying to claim in this article. They did issue an update, but the reason why I decided to cover this story, even though it's been a few days old, is that the author commented on a left-wing identitarian Reddit page calling out Dean Cain, insulting him, and defending his position, even though, look, when it comes to these social justice stories, when it comes to Captain Marvel and movies like it, these identitarian leftists purposefully, this to me is in the same category of a hate crime hoax. I don't mean in the same level of violence or level of immorality or whatever. I'm saying that people who stage hate crimes to try and prove hate exists, then you have something similar where people erase history to claim that people of color haven't or should be. Like, they erase female action leads, they erase female superheroes, and they erase people of color who played Superman because they need to perpetuate the myth. Now, the myth, what I'm trying to say is that they want people to believe Superman's always white. Okay, well, Dean Cain existed. You're very, very late to the party. There have been female superheroes and female-led action movies, but they erase these because they want you to believe that we're not doing better, that racism isn't going. They want you to believe racism is getting worse. Why? They make money off of it. They're grifting, right? So let's read a little bit what he says. This is from writer Ruben Barron. He later went on to, the person claims to be him on Reddit. Michael B. Jordan is no stranger to superhero movies. He endured playing Johnny Storm in the 2015 Fantastic Four before finding much greater success as the villainous Eric Killmonger in Black Panther. As recently as last fall, rumors abounded that the rising star was going to add an even bigger superhero role to his resume, arguably the biggest superhero role there is, as Warner Brothers reportedly sought to recalibrate its plans for the DC Extended Universe following the apparent exit of Henry Cavill. Jordan was said to be under consideration to play Superman. Cool, whatever. The reason I say cool, whatever, is because, like, yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan is a good actor. I really don't care what role he plays. Recently, on February 16th, on the February 16th episode of Oprah Winfrey's Super Soul Conversations, Jordan acknowledged these rumors. He said that was flattered by the rumors. He was copy editor, but would be reluctant to take up the role of the traditional Clark Kent Superman because of the inevitable comparisons to previous portrayals. Showing off his comic geek bona fides, he suggested he was more interested in playing Calvin Ellis, the Superman of Earth 23. Ellis was created by Grant Morrison and Doug Mahnke for the 2009 Final Crisis event, and unlike Kent, was created as a black superhero modeled off of Barack Obama and Muhammad Ali. Jordan thinks that the comic book purists can accept that more than him being Clark Kent. Okay, look, I don't want to read through their entire justification for why they want to have people of color play certain heroes. They do point out that Aquaman was played by Jason Momoa, and I thought he was fantastic. I thought Aquaman was a good movie, but it was buried under terrible editing and music choices. Man, Aquaman was really close to being epic, but because the music was so weird and the editing was kind of choppy, I was like, oh man, you were so close. Jason Momoa's fantastic, and he's great. Whatever, I don't care if you know who plays who, but he had to. He had to add this update at the bottom because Dean Cain responded, "Does Superman need to be white?" And he says, really? You're about 25 years too late. Well, Dean Cain, I believe Dean Cain is a Hapa, right? That means, I believe Hapa comes from Hawaii and it means half. And then in Japanese, they literally just say half. So it's pronounced like hafu or heifu or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it in Japanese. But they're literally just saying half. as a reference to people who are mixed race, typically white and an Eastern Asian descent, or even sometimes Pacific Islander. Like Hapa, I think, actually refers to Pacific Islander. But Dean, I'm sure you realize, and I'm a Quapaw, okay, so I'm quarter, but we don't count. Hapas don't count. In fact, Asians aren't even considered to be people of color. I made a joke before that Asians are Schrodinger's people of color, in that, like Schrodinger's cat, they're in a superposition of being either a person of color or not, depending on the political opinions they hold. And someone said the appropriate response would be more so Heisenberg's uncertainty people of color. And that would reference them being in a superposition. And whenever you look at their politics, they change from being oppressed or not. So here's the thing. Harvard discriminates against Asians, or at least that's what the lawsuits allege, and it sounds like that's the case. So the social justice activists don't seem to care. They won't stick their neck out for one of the smallest minorities in the country. Now, mixed race people are in the absolute smallest minority in this country because whether the left wants to acknowledge it or not, people prefer, for whatever reason, to have kids with people of their race. There are people who mix race. They're typically in more progressive circles, and I come from a family that has done so. But that makes it really even worse for someone like Dean Cain or myself, because now that you add a little bit of white to that Asian, and they say some of the worst and most psychotic things. I was in Seattle, and there was a protest, and I was talking to some like white Antifa guy who was insane and violent, and he was arguing about how Patriot Prayer was a white supremacy front or whatever. And I said, oh, here we go, the yellow scare, the Asian mixed race people leading white supremacy groups. And then he went on a rant about how the Nazis were teaming up with the Japanese and they have an affinity for each other and they breed. And I'm like, that's so offensive. It's like so racist to imply that two people who love each other, but because they happen to be East Asian or Southeast Asian and white, are somehow some kind of like secret Nazi pact. And that, somebody, the reality is, white supremacists don't like mixed race people, and funny enough, neither do the left-wing white supremacists. They are. Let's be real. White progressives who make up a very small minority of this country, who are more than twice as likely to earn over $100,000 per year, believing like erasing history. This article should actually be really offensive. I'm going too long. I got to skip to the next part. Because this guy's effectively erased Dean Cain from the narrative, a mixed-race person who played Superman. This article shouldn't have been made in the first place. And so we have this Media Matters article, which I don't understand why Media Matters cares. Fox host reacts to an article questioning whether Superman has to be white. We make everything about race. You do. And it's offensive because Dean Cain is mixed race. Why do we have to have the conversation? Now, here's the important part that I want to get to. Okay. Media Matters is insane. One of their writers responded to fake. I questioned them publishing fake news, and the writer responded by saying something like, "I hope a bird poops on your hat and it gets in your eyebrow." Like, really? Is that appropriate? Because you wrote faulty, fake information. Apparently, I think this woman got fired, and maybe over this. I don't know if that's true, but I know that she doesn't work there anymore, so that's not surprising. It's the second job this woman got fired from in media. I don't know if she got fired. I heard a rumor, but it could be wrong, so don't take my word for it. But Dean Cain said that, in response to this, he said, I just thought it was funny. It goes back even to the Sushi Man comment. It's just kind of ridiculous. Look, I'm glad they updated the article, but it should have never been out there to begin with. Dean Cain said, I'm glad they updated the article. It shouldn't have been out there. Dean Cain was very laughing and saying, oh, why are they omitting me from the story? Well, let's hop over to Reddit, Gamergazi. Yes, I browse Gamergazi very often. And Gamergazi is like the opposite of Gamergate. I admittedly don't know too much about both of these cultures, but these people refer to themselves as SJWs. And so here's what this person writes. I don't know if this is the same person because, it's Reddit, right? It may be a different person writing this, claiming to be the writer. They said, so I wrote this article for Comic Book Resources, responding to the Michael B. Jordan as Superman rumors. I'd initially overlooked mentioning Dean Cain, the one actor of color who has played Superman on TV, in the article, and he called attention to it on Twitter. It was a mistake to not mention him. Frankly, I didn't even know he existed, as I was not paying attention to older TV versions of Superman. Really? You didn't know he existed? That's what's really funny. It's like, you didn't do research? You were writing an article about people of color playing Superman? You didn't even do a Google search for it? Come on. And he says, so my editors and I made changes to the article accordingly. Okay. Of course, while Dean Cain had a fair point, he's also a conservative asshole and went on Fox and Friends this morning to suggest a white man should play Black Panther. No, he was making a point about you omitting him from a story because you did a bad job and you called him an asshole for it. You made the mistake. You're the racist. Stop dragging Dean Cain over this. Dean Cain did nothing wrong. He, as a person of color, has every right to be angry that he's being written out of history by people like you. This is what blows my mind about SJWs. They call themselves that. That's why I'm using the term. They're white supremacists, okay? What does white supremacy mean? Well, there's the colloquial understanding. It's that someone who believes white people should be supreme. And then there's the more direct definition of, if you actually just broke down white and supremacist, you could say, these are people who think they are supreme. They erase people of color, right? They erase Dean Cain from this story. They didn't bother to do research. They just had this idea, oh, white people are supreme, therefore they get to write this and act like it's true, but it's not. It's not true. Dean Cain is a person of color. Dean Cain is mixed race, the smallest minority in this country, and he got to play Superman. And you erased him from that. So this is the kind of thing that pisses me off and why I decided to make a video about it, because they constantly push this narrative and then act like they're not the racists. They are. They're segregationists, and they're terrifying, weird people. And for someone like me, who is, of mixed race, this is the inherent problem I'm faced with. Freaky racists like these people who want to erase people like me and Dean Cain from the history books, from American culture, act like we didn't exist, and then call Dean Cain an asshole when Dean Cain politely says, I'm glad they updated this and it shouldn't have been made in the first place. He's right. It shouldn't have. And then you have actual white supremacists crapping all over us because we're mutts, or whatever they want to call us, or mudbloods. I think mudblood's cooler because I like Harry Potter. But the point is, I'm stuck in the middle of these fringe extremist wackaloons. And you know what? I'll say it. The white nationalist types who don't like race mixing, they're fringe groups. They're few and far between. But these people write for mainstream publications, and they're entering politics and they're gaining power. And I don't want to live in a world where I get shit on no matter what, by no matter what political faction, because they don't like that I'm part white. They don't like that I'm part Asian. Screw these people. I'm done. Stick around. I have another video coming up at 4 p.m. I will see you then. YouTube.com/TimCast main channel.